Good to be back. I have 4 words for you. Well, 3 words, 4 syllables. K-pop demon hunters. This movie has taken over the fucking world, and I am so here for it because when I watched it, I fucking loved it. And I kind of lost a little bit of inspiration in my channel for a little bit there. It's obviously been a couple of months since I posted. And a lot of that was because I kind of like was feeling restricted by being purely a horror-based channel. And like, I love films in general, but I love horror films. But that kind of extends into like weird and like slightly kooky, kind of spooky, whatever kind of films. Like it's a vibe that is mine, I guess, of the films that I like. And K-pop Demon Hunters is one of those fucking films. And I kind of just went back to like what films am I talking to people in my life about, to try and like bring it back to like what would I want to do a video on next. Like the more time that passed from the last video that I posted, the more that it felt like a big deal to post a new video, even though like this message is only for 113 subscribers. But like to me it felt like a big deal, and so I kind of just took it back to like what movie am I talking to people about right now. And that was fucking K-pop Demon Hunters. I watched this movie. It came out on Netflix June 20th. I was fucking obsessed with it. I saw the trailer when it first came out and I loved the animation style. I feel like Sony Pictures Animation is really like leading the charge on diverse and creative narratives and creativity in animation without it just being the same like carbon copy repeating like the same 3D animation shit that we're seeing, like the downfall of Pixar to a degree. Like I'm not going to say a bad word about Pixar because I feel like as though there's been a lot of really amazing films that made my childhood that have come from there, but you can definitely see that they're putting a lot of time and effort into films that are not necessarily resonating with audiences. And I do believe it's because there's a fatigue in this specific way that they are telling stories through animation, as opposed to having like each film that they make kind of have a different specific aura to what best suits that narrative. And that is something that I think Sony Pictures Animations does so well. Whether you look at The Amazing Spider-Man, whether you look at Mitchell's vs. the Machine, like they are really leading the charge in like creating a film and making artistic decisions based around what that film best needs in its animation, as opposed to being like, this is how we animate Sony Picture Animation movies, you know? Anyway, I was going to dive into that in a little bit as a more of an intro into what this video / what my channel is turning into. Think of it like a book club, but for movies. I want us to go on a journey every week where I'll tell you a film that I plan on diving into the following week. This week it's K-pop Demon Hunters. Next week I'll let you know what it is at the end of the fucking video. I'm inserting chapters below so you can completely skip this spiel if you want to dive straight into the actual deep dive and talking about K-pop Demon Hunters. This is just a little spiel about my channel and where I want it to go moving forward. But I want us to dive into a film. I want us to really like dive deep into the production, into the love that went behind these movies. When I say that like the films that I'll be talking about are films that I love or films that I vibe with, or even films that I don't like but I find interesting to talk about, that is based around the concept that like every film is a love letter from hundreds of people, whether it's deemed like reviewably good or whether it's deemed reviewably bad. Either way, these people have worked on it for 12, 18, 3 years sometimes, like 12 months, 18 months, 3 years, and all of a sudden a review comes out that it's fucking god awful, and all of the work that they put in is put to the wayside. So some, especially in the horror, like we all know that horror is not critically like really given the space that it should be, but unless it's like fucking high art horror, whatever. But like generally there are some films that I adore that have been critically panned, and like I want to talk about that. I want to dive into why are they critically panned. I want to talk about the people that worked behind the project, how much effort they put into these things. Like that is something that I love, and hopefully you guys will find it interesting. These will be deep motherfucking dives. Like there is no two bits about it. If you are like, why do we have to listen? Why do I have to watch a fucking hour and a half video about a movie that is only an hour and a half? Look, that is what we're going to be doing here. If that's not your bag, please fuck off. That's fine. Like, there are so many channels out there that will do a 20-minute recap of a film, and I just don't think that that does it justice. And that's kind of what I want Obscura Club to be. Like, I want us to be able to come together once a week and really dive deep into these movies. I want you guys to feel a part of the conversation and leave your thoughts about the films below and any like interesting factoids, or if I get something wrong, because sometimes I will. Case in point, K-pop Demon Hunters, I am not Korean. So I've done a lot of like research into it to try and make sure that I am very much accurately providing information, but I might get something wrong. And if I do, I would love for you guys to let me know down below what the appropriate, what the accurate information is. And then at the top of next video, I'll do a little corner being like, hey guys, a recap from last video. I've some amazing comments and things from people and that have left below for last week. So here is a little, you know, here's what I got wrong, or here's an interesting factoid from last week, blah, blah, blah. I want us to go on this journey together. Thanks for watching, and I guess let's dive into K-pop Demon Hunters, shall we? K-pop Demon Hunters is a Sony Pictures animation film that came out June 20th on Netflix. I know I caught the trailer and instantly was like, this shit is going to be so good. But both, like, I'm into like fun demon lore and also into animation and also into K-pop. So those were three things that I was like, I don't understand how this could go wrong, to be completely honest with you. And the fun animation style, which I know I've already spoken about a little bit, but like really Sony Pictures Animation is truly leading the charge when it comes to this stuff. And it sounds like from Disney kind of, I know that a press release went out a couple of months ago, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, that they are now hiring a whole bunch of 2D animators. Like I do think that the bigger studios are starting to understand that like people are not craving a rinse and repeat. People are craving authentic stories and genuine, diverse, interesting art, and that is something that I think Sony Pictures Animation has done so well. Specifically with K-pop Demon Hunters, it's such a love letter to Korean culture, which is obviously because like the main spearheader for the film, Maggie Kang, is of Korean descent. Like, these are things that create quality stories and provide entertainment whilst also providing education that do not only have to be specifically given to Korean audiences, but can be something that can broadly open up the entire world to these kinds of cultural nuances that we wouldn't be aware of otherwise. And I think especially because the past couple of years, K-pop, well, not even couple, like I would say the past decade, like even when I was growing up, K-pop was starting to kind of pierce the veil in Australia and in the US, I believe. And I think that K-pop Demon Hunters is just a natural kind of progression of bringing it further into, you know, the diaspora and educating more on like mythology and cultural perspective and tying that into the modern Korean experience. And like, fuck, it's such a good film. I feel like after every spiel that I have, I'm gonna be like, fuck, such a good film. So as I mentioned before, the spearheader of this film is definitely Maggie Kang. She co-directed the film with a guy called Chris Applehans, I think is how you say his name, Chris Applehans. It's like Apple, Appel, and then Hans. So Applehans is how I would say it. As a very like brief synopsis, it follows a K-pop girl group called Huntrix who have to face off against a K-pop boy group called the Saja Boys, who are secretly demons. That is like the most snapshottiest of snapshots. This is your last chance. Go watch the fucking film. It's so good. I don't care that it's an animation. I don't think it was even like mainly made for kids. Like if you go on the internet and type in K-pop Demon Hunters, majority of who you'll see really reacting to this film are adults. It's a really brilliant film, and I think that you should watch it before watching however long this video is going to be of me talking and breaking it down and diving deep and all these things. Go watch it for yourself so that we can talk about it together. So K-pop Demon Hunters kind of came to fruition from Maggie wanting to create a film that was rooted in her Korean culture and heritage and kind of combined all of these different myths and legends and demonology and these things that are really prevalent in Korean culture in with modern day Korea culture, which that the world kind of on a greater scale sees of K-pop and fandom, but still having it as a very like culturally rooted film. Born in Seoul, Korea, Maggie grew up in Toronto and started her career at DreamWorks Animation as like a storyboard artist, I think. She worked on various projects including Puss in Boots, The Croods, Rise of the Guardians, great movie, Kung Fu Panda 3, Trolls, Shrek Forever After, Madagascar Escape to Africa, and Over the Hedge. There you go. And then she went on to contribute her talents as a story artist at Illumination Entertainment on Minions: The Rise of Gru, and Warner Animation Group, where she was head of story on the Lego Ninjago movie. Heard great things about that Lego Ninjago movie. Chris Applehans is her co-director, is an American illustrator, production designer, and film director who I think is most known for his film that came out, I think in 2020, maybe 2021, called Wish Dragon. It's actually a movie I've never heard of before. It's another animated film rooted in Chinese culture, and it looks like the goal with that film was to hit and target Chinese audiences. So it only got a theatrical release in China, and I do think it had went on select streaming with the rest of the world, but it didn't have the same kind of global impact that K-pop Demon Hunters did. Okay, so we're going to give a shout out to the rest of the team who worked on this film. This is just going to be me listing a bunch of names because I want to make sure that everybody is included, but this is the entire, lead crew. We've got the film writing duo Hannah McMechen and Dania Jimenez, who wrote the script, and Aaron Warner and Michelle L.M. Wong served as producers. Mingzhu Helen Chen and Amy Thompson were also announced as production designer and art director, respectively. So that's our lead crew. All right, and that's my little pre-spiel. This is a film that is, I believe, very fun, but also really educational and important and great. I just love when films are made that are kind of targeted towards kids that can really, I can be excited to show either my kids or my niece or whatever at some point and be like, look how cool this film is and look what you're learning about Korean culture. That's something that I'm really excited about doing, and it is kind of rare these days, so to have this film do that is exciting. We're now going to dive deep into the plot. Spoilers ahead. Go watch the fucking film. I have said it a million times. If you haven't seen it, go watch it now and then come back, or don't come back. Just go watch the film. Honestly, I would rather you watch the film than this video. We begin with a contextual narrative from my absolute least favorite character in the fucking film, Celine, who I think that they allude to being a former, demon hunter lady in the previous trio. She's not even that old, which makes me think that the cycle of these demon hunter ladies is not very good. But anyway, she kind of gives us this snapshot into history, how demons basically had taken over the world, were preying on human souls until however many years ago, three women came up into being, who are these demon hunters who use their voice and their musical ability to battle the demons and create the Hung Moon, which is basically a giant barrier that they create around the world that stops the demons from being able to come up and take people's souls and feed on their energies. And that Hung Moon is strengthened by their voice and strengthened by the fans that they make, so the energy that people have in reciprocation to their performances, if that makes sense. So once the Hung Moon was created, it was then sustained with different trios of hunters over the generations until we now meet our current trio, which is Huntrix, and they are basically working towards fully solidifying the Hung Moon, which is when it becomes gold, and then it's the demons will never be able to come to Earth again, is essentially what it is. So they're there to maintain, strengthen, and hopefully end this saga for good, and Celine is kind of their teacher who raised them up. The annoying thing with this film, and I hope that they do get into an inevitable sequel. I mean, this film was so successful that I hope that they do a sequel. But the annoying thing with this film is that they don't really dive into how they choose the Huntrix girls, how those girls kind of get their powers, if that's something that they're born with, are they selected, are they found by Celine and she brings them together. They kind of just allude to the fact that before they were Huntrix, their lives were really difficult. Rumi was raised by Celine from the very beginning. The other two girls came in later. So it's kind of where how are these groups formed? What happened to the previous group? Was Rumi's mum part of the previous group? Because we'll get to that later. There's some really crazy shit with that. But as I said, I do feel like that's potentially something that might come up in a sequel. And they do enough to kind of contextualize the three girls and show where they've come from, that they definitely feel like fleshed out characters. It's just an interesting part of their history that we don't get to see, and I would love to see it. So hopefully they get into that in a sequel. So we are then introduced to main protagonists of the film, Huntrix. This is Rumi, Mira, and Zoe. So Rumi is voiced by Teen Wolf Queen Arden Cho. I remember like her season of, I think she was in like 2 or 3 seasons where she becomes like Scott's main love interest. I was a big Teen Wolf girl. And I thought that it was really cool that they went into like a lot of, because she, I believe, is Japanese, or like at least her character was Japanese in the film, and they went into Nigitsunes and all of this really cool historical stuff from back in that, at that time, it wasn't really something that was in like mainstream media, especially not mainstream media that was like targeted towards young teens. And I thought her representation was really, really cool. So anyway, that's a separate spiel about Teen Wolf and Arden Cho, but she voices Rumi, who's like our lead vocalist and lead protagonist of the film. Everything that we're following is mostly following her struggles and her storyline throughout the film. Then we have Mira, who is who is voiced by Mei Hong. I've never seen Mei Hong in anything else, but I believe she's a voice actor. Mira is like the lead dancer of the group, I guess, in like K-pop kind of tradition of what their role is. She's the lead dancer in the group and is kind of, they say that she was the black sheep in her family because she was like rebellious, but her family was like wealthy or whatever. And then she found her home in Huntrix. And then Zoe is voiced by Ji Yong Yu, who I actually recently saw in the not that fucking bad Until Dawn film. We might need to cover that shit in a film soon, in a video soon, because I went and watched that in the cinema and I actually didn't think it was that bad, and all I've seen is like fucking dude bros on the internet slamming it, and I disagree with you. And I've played Until Dawn, I fucking love that game. I disagree with you. You right there, I disagree with you. I don't think that movie is that bad, and I'm not saying that it's fucking brilliant, but I don't think it's that bad. Anyway, that's for another video. I'm interested to know your thoughts below, but that's for another fucking video. So Zoe is the lead rapper, and like kind of in a very like classic, I guess, stereotype, she's the most sweet looking, like adorable kind of chibi girl in the group. Very hyper, very, very sweet. Like I really like Zoe. The main conflict in the group is between Rumi and Mira, because Rumi is hiding things and Mira knows that she's hiding things and is holding her accountable to it, and so he's like, why can't we all just get along? Anyway, we're gonna get to that. Let's dive into the character design. Guys, the animation, I know I've said it, but the animation in this film, it just gets me. Truly, I'm just always so excited. As somebody who, I love animated TV shows, animated films, cartoons were my bag as a child, which is like so quirky and weird. Like, no, everybody loved cartoons as a kid, but that love has really gone with me into adulthood. Whenever I see a new like Netflix animated film or Netflix animated series, whatever, I'm always willing to give it a go. And like to see a film that is animated so lovingly, I love it. Okay, sorry. Maggie, when she was designing the character, like when she was talking and trying to guide the character designs, it very much was like, obviously these are K-pop idols, so they are made to look absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, incredible looking women. But she also wanted to incorporate the fact that they're also just like regular, stupid, fucking like early 20s girls who are kind of gross, obsessed with eating, not that perfect. Like they have that kind of slobby side that a lot of women do, you know. It's not just one specific thing, this is who they are. So they've got that silly, goofy, kind of really stupid awkwardness that kind of flows through everything that they do as well. And then they're on stage and they're these gorgeous, beautiful divas. So it feels very fleshed out and holistic. She was also influenced actually by Bong Joon-ho, who famously Parasite, The Host, all these films, because the way that he writes his characters is actually very like kind of animated. Like they're super nuanced, but they're still the most extreme version of their subtype, if that makes sense. And she kind of drew on that kind of like making sure that none of the characters felt 2D, that there was just one note to them. This was who they are, and thus this is what they fit into. All of them are complicated and complex, and being able to convey that through such a simple and fun lens whilst still ensuring that it really does feel layered, and I do feel like these people are real and whole, is so commendable, because I fucking couldn't do it. So actually, one thing that I do think is interesting is Maggie explained that when developing the history of the demon hunters, so like these three women, they decided to play into the shaman women from Korean culture, as historically these women would sing and dance to protect their village and their communities. And in continuing that, the members of Huntrix wear norage, I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I'm saying it. Norage pendants integrated into modern K-pop fashion, a traditional Korean accessory primarily worn with the hanbok that functions as a decorative pendant and a good luck charm. It's just so so much attention to detail and so like interwoven and so like culturally respectful. I just love it. Ugh. The three members of Huntrix were modeled after like a bunch of modern K-pop groups. Think Blackpink, think Twice. Like Twice are actually featured in the soundtrack and have a little cameo in the film on the competition boards on the phones and stuff. So they were modeled after these bands. And Maggie did also talk about how she and the crew were like they watched The Amazing Spider-Man, which I think anybody making an animated film in 2025 probably would. They watched The Amazing Spider-Man and kind of made the decision that they didn't want to go full 3D with anything. So they kind of combined 2D and 3D art together, and then also drew very heavily on anime art styles and expressions and the kind of like there's like moments that the animation is so crisp and clean, and then there's moments where it kind of branches over into the obscure kind of 2D kind of chibi anime style of like these really aggressive expressions, and like it's genuinely like perfectly interwoven into its own kind of art style. And they made a very specific effort as a crew to ensure that all of the characters had a very distinct Korean visual style. So they were making sure that the eyes were done right, that the mouth movements, even though they were speaking English, were animated in a way that was very like specifically and pointedly Korean. The clothes, the hairstyles, everything was these are Korean characters. You don't need to ask any more questions. They are fucking Korean. So the three Huntrix girls, to continue in our story, the three Huntrix girls are on their way to a big performance to end their world tour that they've been on. It's their final performance before they go on a break that they keep on talking about, that Mira and Zoe are very excited for. And Rumi, as we'll see in her character, is not really that focused on vacations and is more focused on the work and the responsibility that they have as demon hunters, blah, blah, blah. They're on a plane, and they receive a call from their manager Bobby, who is voiced by Ken Jeong, who I mostly have only ever seen in Community, to be honest, but I do believe that he's also in the Hangover movies, and like there was a brief period of time in the 2010s that he was in a whole bunch of shit. But very funny guy, and Bobby is I love that character in this film. He's so sweet. Anyway, separate. He's their manager. He calls them. He's like, you guys are running late. Like, what's the team? And then they realize the air hostess and the pilots and stuff have been acting weird this whole time, but during this first opening scene, the girls are like absorbing a table of food in a very comical, like kind of, wow, these girls eat a shit ton kind of way. So I thought that the crew was just like reacting to that. But no, turns out the crew are demons, and they are able to distinguish this via markings on their skin, important for later. And also because they're like pouring coffee into a pot plant, and the fucking pilot's just going beep boop, but doesn't actually know how to fly a plane. And now we go into our first animation fight sequence, and it gives us such a good snapshot of what we have here, and it's our first song in the film. We haven't even talked about the songs yet, guys. This soundtrack is everything. It's fucking everything. This music is so catchy. It is absolutely insanity. Anyway, so we've got our first track, which is called How It's Done. It's an incredible fight sequence between the girls and the demons on this plane, and we kind of see all of their different weapons that they use, their distinctive fighting styles, their distinctive parts in the song, and it's a really good like entry snapshot point into what we're going to get from this film, and fuck me, it's really good. I just keep on saying that, but it is really good. This song is probably the most like badass kind of K-pop vibe, very Blackpink-esque in the way that it kind of merges rap and EDM kind of frequencies into a K-pop song. Very badass, you know, it's a battle song is what the framing of it is in the film. As the battle continues, they jump out of the plane, which is crashing somewhere in the world. They jump out of the plane and kind of land on the stage and continue their performance. It's very epic. The fans are going crazy. We're in an arena. These girls are obviously the shit. They're on top of their game. They are the biggest K-pop group in the world. And as they're performing, they can see the moon is strengthening and starting to go gold. They've got like one more big performance, and this will all be done. They will have officially made the Hongmoon as strong as it needs to be, and they'll never have to do this again. So I actually found some information about their weapons, which I thought was very interesting. So Rumi uses a Blade of Harmony, which is a slim neon filigreed longsword whose hilt doubles as a wireless mic. Its edge pulses to the beat of her vocals and can split into ribbon-like light trails for wide sweeps. Then Zoe uses twin shinkal, which are paired crescent daggers. The name comes from the Korean term for short, single-edged knives that she spins like batons and throws boomerang style. And then Mira uses a gokdo spear, a towering ceremonial spear with rotating gold fretwork and an extendable shaft. In close-ups, you can spot Hangul lyrics from Huntrix's debut single, etched along the blade. How fun is that? So all of their weapons are based on these, like, you know, Korean historical weapons. Anyway, I just thought that was fun. I am now going to rattle off a really long list of names of people who I think should be credited for the work that they did on the soundtrack. So this is the list of people who worked on the entire soundtrack. The film's original songs were written by Danny Chung, Ido, Vince, Kush, EJ, Jenna Andrews, Stephen Kirk, Lindgren, Mark Sonnenblick, and Daniel Rojas, and produced by Teddy Park, 24, Ido, Dominsuk, Andrews, Kirk, Lindgren, and Ian Eisendrath. Marcelo Zavos composed the score, and the soundtrack also features the voice of EJ, Audrey Nuna, Ray Amy, Andrew Choi, Kevin Wu, Samuel Lee, Nekwav, and Leah Salonga. All of y'all are incredibly talented people, is all I have to say, because the soundtrack is fucking gangbusters. Anyway, sorry. So, the girls have their big performance, all's going well. Oh my god, the crowd goes wild. Hongmoon's going golden. Everything is slay. We're doing so well, girls. Everything is going great. Then we transition to big bad demon guy Guimar, which he is actually voiced by Lee Byung-hun, who I have personally only seen in Squid Game Season 2 and Season 3, but I do believe he is quite a famous South Korean actor, so I really like him in Squid Game. That is what I have seen him in. But he does like a really cool gravelly voice for this. Guima is like the demon king that all demons are minions to. They basically go to steal people's souls to feed to Guima. And he, like, we very quickly see via him like killing the demons that failed on the flight, he is not a, you know, a nice leader. He is somebody who truly is kind of, it's enslaving these demons. And it's our first glimpse that we kind of get into demons, all bad, maybe not. Guima bad, but all demons, maybe not bad, you know? So this is kind of starting to set that scene. Obviously he is failing. He's getting really pissed off because this Hongmoon is about to be, you know, golden, big bad things. And then we see one of his demons, Jinu, kind of flies over whilst playing a song. Gino is hot, like there's nothing else to say about it. He is the protagonist of the film, our anti-hero, if you will. He's basically formulated a plan that like the way that we're going to fight them is to fight fire with fire. We should create a boy band that can compete with the Huntrix girls for people's attention and affection, and that will then, you know, start to destroy the Hongmoon and stop it from going golden. And Guima is like, what are you talking about? But then, you know, he introduces the Saja boys, and even I would say that the Saja boys, they're fucking, I would listen to them. I would look at them. They are good looking. I've not seen such good looking animated characters before, like in a very, very long time. Like since, God, I don't even know. Maybe Flynn Rider, I guess. Like, I should say Gino is voiced by Ahn Hyo-sep, a Canadian actor and singer based in South Korea. A fun footnote as well, Saja means lion, and Korea's underworld guardians are lion-headed reapers, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. Take note of the outfit that they wore in this scene. We'll talk about it at the end. So after completing their world tour, the girls prepare for a break. Mira and Zoe, as I said, very excited for their break. Rumi, not so much. She has gotten very excited by seeing the gold flecks in the Hongmoon. She's like, we're so fucking close. And so instead of taking a week off, she decides to push up their next single, Golden. Catchiest song in the fucking world. I think we've all seen this clip of this dude losing his fucking mind to it. I'm not passionate about anything in my life, but feels, because it is fucking catchy. It's been stuck in my head since I watched this movie weeks ago. Anyway, so she decides to move the release up. So instead of getting a break, they have to go straight into promo cycle. Kind of gives us a little kind of snapshot into how dedicated and desperate Rumi is to succeed. We don't quite know why yet, but she is obviously being characterized as the workaholic girl. So as the kind of they debut the music video for Golden, and we're listening to the song blah blah blah, and then when we get to the bridge, Rumi is revealed in the mirror to have these demon markings on her, and we're like, hold up, wait a minute, what the fuck's going on here? And basically what we find out is Rumi is half demon. I have questions about it too. If her mum was a huntrix person in the past, does that mean that she fucked a demon? And can you have babies with a demon? Like, it's confusing, because technically I thought that demons were like dead people. Anyway, it's a little bit confusing, but I'm sure they'll dive more into it at another time. We'll find out in a sequel or something. But she's basically half demon, but Celine has kind of told her, hide that shit. Everyone's gonna fucking hate you. I hate you for being half demon, even though you were born this way and didn't do anything wrong to be like this. So this all feeds into why Celine is like my least fucking favorite character in the world. She's basically like, hide your demon markings. Once we get the Hongmoon Golden, then all your demon markings will go away. She doesn't know that. She just is hoping that that's the case because she hates the fact that Rumi is half demon and she like can't stand that. But she's like guilting her constantly just for existing. Rumi was born this way. Anyway, hate this woman. Oh, hate her so much. Anyway, so Rumi obviously feels a lot of shame about these marks and is even more motivated to make the Hongmoon Golden because she has been told her whole life that that will help get rid of her demon markings and she will officially be human and be able to fully let go and relax and let the other Huntrix girls know exactly who she is and not have to hide this terrible secret. It's just awful. Fuck, I hate Celine, man. Anyway, that's the reason why Rumi is such like a, and she moved up the Golden release and all these things. But as we see whilst they're practicing, the issue is that her demon markings are growing across her body and one of them is starting to move up on her throat, thus causing her to lose her voice. And her voice is the main way that they strengthen the Hongmoon and the main way that they are able to capture their fans' energy to turn it golden. There's even a fucking moment that she says to Celine, maybe Mira and Zoe will understand. Like, maybe I should just tell them. And Celine's like, they never fucking will, bitch. They'll hate you. It's like, girl, take your shit elsewhere. Like, oh my God, I hate her so much. Celine, there is not a single redeeming quality about this woman. Anyway, sorry. So Kim Eun-jae, also known by her stage name EJ, is a South Korean American singer and songwriter and vocalist. She provides the singing voice for Rumi, and she actually recorded 2 versions of all of the songs, I think except like the ones that it wasn't necessary for, but she recorded 2 versions of all of the songs, one in like the proper Rumi gorgeous singing voice, and then one in the kind of scratchy losing her voice kind of format, so that then the animators were able to seamlessly interweave the 2 where needed based off of the story and where the animation was going, which I thought was a very cool attention to detail. So Rumi is obviously getting frustrated because she was told that when the Hongmoon was golden, it would basically remove her marks. But even as they're strengthening the Hongmoon, her demon marks are growing and she's losing her voice, prompting the girls to take like a break and not be able to do a live TV performance that they had planned, all these things. But Mira and Zoe are very understanding. They're like, it's totally fine. I mean, we weren't going to do this anyway, but you moved up golden by a week, whatever. And Rumi, without her voice, isn't able to do anything, and so she kind of gets frustrated, and we see her have this outburst that kind of shows that the demon side of her can also negatively impact the Hongmoon. It kind of sends this like shockwave through the Hongmoon. So she's just like fucking a mess. She is mentally unwell, and the girls can obviously see that there's something wrong, but they have no idea what's wrong with her because she can't be honest with them because Selena's gaslit this girl to shit. Anyway, so Zoe somehow, somewhere finds this like herbal doctor guy and believes that he has a tonic that can help Rumi find her voice. They go to visit him. There's like a weird brief little lore moment that I don't really know what it means, and I'd love if someone in the comments could tell me, but it kind of looks like Rumi's looking at a photo in the doctor's office and sees an image of what looks like the doctor with human-looking versions of the Saja boys. And it's so brief that I was like, what is that supposed to mean? Because the Saja boys are demons. And not only are the Saja boy demon, the only Saja boy that is not just like literally demon minion is Genu. He is like portrayed as an actual human. The other Saja boys are practically animals. Like they don't have thoughts of their own necessarily. They're just his minions basically. So it's just a very confusing moment for me, but there's probably, knowing the way that they made this film, I reckon that there is probably some sort of like deeper meaning behind it. I just couldn't find anything when I was looking into it and would love for somebody to let me know if you know. So they go into this herbal doctor's office. He's obviously a scam, but he does get one thing right in that he like in looking at Rumi and trying to figure out what's wrong with her, he sees that she is very guarded and holding a huge part of herself away from the part that she's representing, and until she kind of is able to tackle all of her issues holistically, she will never be able to fix her voice, right? Which is important for later, we'll see why. But he still gives her these tonics. They're a complete scam, it is what it is. And as they're leaving, they actually have their first encounter with the Saja boys, bumping into them in the alleyway. They get a whole slow-mo thing. The girls are like, damn, those bitches be hot, because I cannot express, these animated characters are fucking hot. They are a K-pop boy group into a T in animated style. Like, it's so impressive. Honestly, so impressive. But they're also rude to them because they're demons, obviously. And the girls are like, boo, fuck you, whatever. They then follow them out into a square where the Saja boys have prepared a secret performance where they perform their first, yet again, very catchy song, Soda Pop. And as they're performing, the girls see the markings and see that they are demons and are like, holy shit, there's a demon pop boy group, whatever, K-pop boy group. There's even a moment here where Zoe says, maybe they don't look like they're hurting anyone, maybe they're good demons. And Mira and Rumi are like, there's no such thing as good demons. It's like, clearly, Rumi, take that moment. Oh, Zoe might be open to me being a good demon. Anyway, big feelings. So as I mentioned before, the Saja boys, like, apart from Genu, they are basically just like stale stereotypes of different boy K-pop stereotypes, essentially. And I find it slightly a missed opportunity. I do understand that the runtime of this film would be insane, / they would have made it way too complex if they did flesh out all 6 of them. I think there's 6, maybe there's 5 of them. There's quite a few of them. Like, if they fleshed out all of those characters, that's a lot. Like, they wouldn't actually be able to do that. But I just feel like Genu has such a strong story and such a strong, like, conflict that and what he's saying and what he's representing for what demonkind is, like these tortured souls, which we'll get into. If that's the case, then they should have given a little bit more depth to the other Saja boys, I think. Because if what Genu is saying is that, like, and I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but like, basically what Genu is saying is that all demons, souls that have guilt, have done something in their life that has given Guimar power over them to be able to hold them in his, like, servitude, essentially, to bring him souls. So they have guilt for something that they've done in their lives. And I think that the Saja boys / other demons as well, it would have been better if we could have seen that kind of power and guilt throughout other demons in the film and not just Genu. That's like my one critique really of the film at all. Like, there's nothing else I have to say about it that's negative. And that's not even negative, that's just my personal preference. Other people are probably like, fuck that, we just want to see the hot Saja boys dance. And I'm like, fair enough, same, you know, that's all good. Soda Pop is a very fun, catchy song, and like, people obviously start to lose their minds. The boys go viral and the girls are like, holy shit, those are fucking demons. So, fun little thing here, when comparing the songs of Huntrix and the Saja boys, Chris Applehans explained they wanted the Saja boys' songs to be super catchy but slightly hollow, like there's no real soul underneath, which contrasts with the emotionally vulnerable and honest Huntrix songs. The idea was that the surface level part of your heart might be obsessed with the boys, but the deeper part is moved by the girls. Which, yet again, attention to detail. It's fucking incredible. Choreography was blocked by superstar dance coach Leah Kim. She served as lead choreography consultant, motion capturing idol footwork that animators translated into the film's stylized fight dance sequences. She is a choreographer, dancer, and co-founder of the globally renowned 1 Million Dance Studio in Seoul. She has choreographed chart-topping routines for K-pop heavyweights such as Sunmi, Twice, Mamamoo, and ITZY. So that's why the choreography is so fucking good. And the way that they animate the choreography, it's like, sometimes when I'm watching Cat's Eye, I'm like, damn, that shit is satisfying to watch. And they basically do that, but in animation. Anyway, the Saja Boys were inspired by Korean boy bands such as Tomorrow X Together, BTS, Stray Kids, ATEEZ, Big Bang, and Monster X. Korean actor and singer Cha Eun-woo was a key influence for Jinu, the group's leader. Jinu is the only Saja boy who has a real name, while the rest of the band members have names that are more descriptive of K-pop archetypes, which I've already said. That is my fun facts for that section of the film. At the end of their performance, the Saja boys announced that they're going to be on a variety show at the end of the day, and the Huntrix girls kind of prepare to battle them, essentially. They are like, we're going to meet them at this variety show. We're going to show them who's fucking boss. The boys are on the variety show. They're doing stupid, like, little, chicken shop date / Hot Ones kind of style stuff. They're drinking hot sauce or something. And Jinu captures a glimpse of the Huntrix girls ready to kind of attack them. And he puts them on the spot by being like, oh my God, Huntrix are here. They're here to support us. Come on down. And like embarrasses them in front of the entire crowd, which I guess the people's attention kind of impacts the Hongmoon itself as well, and like their profile. And so they're obviously angry. The Saja boys run off the set, the girls follow them into a bathhouse, and we enter into another demon battle. Throughout this demon battle, Rumi's shirt gets ripped and her demon markings are on display, and Jinu sees it and then helps her by wrapping a little like thing over the top of it so that she can go back and help her friends who are being overrun by demons. So it's kind of like one of those moments. It really like sent me back into 2015 Tumblr vibes. It was very like he kind of came, grabbed her, turned her around without her even noticing, wrapped the thing around her, and then ran off. And it was like, wow, what a moment. I was instantly like, sparks flying between these two. Sparks flying. The Saja boys escape and Guima kind of summons Jinu. So we see the control that Guima has over all the demons, because basically when he calls Jinu instantly is taken down to this demon world that they're in. And we can see all the demons now like demon fanning, like fanboying, fan demoning over the Saja boys. And Guima is very happy with Jinu, and Jinu's like, yeah, she's a fucking demon, bro. What the fuck? And he's like, Guima's like, I've got no control over her. And he's like, I'm going to find out what her shame is, which we'll learn more about later. I'm going to find out what her shame is so that we can use it against her. Tea. So back at their house, the girls like obviously live in this crazy penthouse, and they can have a view of the full city, and they can see the moon is like basically being torn apart as instantly, which is so crazy to think that for like thousands of years Guima has been trying to beat the demon hunters, and this it was how simple it was. Anyway, it's basically being destroyed because the love that the fans are showing for the Saja boys is fastening how fast it is, making it faster how quickly it's deteriorating. Bobby comes in and is like, the Saja boys have gone completely viral. They've got like this little shoulder dance that they're doing to Soda Pop, and they're massive. And the girl's like, we have to stop them in their tracks. It's interesting. I think that this part is supposed to kind of be a bit of a commentary on how competitive the K-pop terrain is. Bobby's always looking at this leaderboard of social followers, streamers, whatever, and is like basically like the Huntrix need to be at the top. And I do think that the K-pop world is very competitive, especially between these groups and these bands. So I do think that this is supposed to be kind of like, why do the girls need to be on top? Why is there not enough fans for everybody, And so the girls kind of decide they need to take them down, and so they decide to write a diss track to perform at the Idol Awards, which is their biggest performance every year that they use to strengthen the Hongmoon basically for the entire year, because it's like the biggest performance that they do. And so they decide to write a diss track called Takedown. Catchy motherfucking song. Back in her room, Rumi is visited by two of my favorite characters in this film. They're animal sidekicks. Who doesn't like a fucking animal sidekick, okay? I'm gonna read off some stuff here because it's a lot of kind of information that I'm not super native to, written about what these two creatures are. So we have affectionately named Derpy, which is like a blue tiger that is Jinu's pet. And then we have an unnamed magpie that is always basically perched on Derpy's shoulder. He's got nothing to do with Jinu, he just hangs around. He's always around, essentially. And Jinu has sent Derpy to leave a letter because he wants to meet up with Rumi one-on-one, because he knows that she's a demon, and she knows that he knows that she's a demon. So, some information on the tiger and the magpie. Journalist Han Nguyen highlighted that Jinu's pet tiger and magpie, which the creative team called Derpy and Sussy, respectively, Sussy would be the bird, are based on minhwa, a style of Korean folk art popular during the Joseon period, with the Hojak-do genre specializing in images of tigers, magpies, and pine trees. The depiction of these animals together changed over time to become more satirical by the 17th century. Park Han-sol of the Korea Times wrote that minhwa was often whimsical with mischievous details, and depictions of tiger and magpie delivered a playful jab at those in power. She commented that the film's gag of the magpie stealing the tiger's hat feels like an affectionate nod to the long-running visual joke. Story artist Radford Seacrest explained that Derpy's bright blue hue possibly originated with production designer Helen Mingju Chen wanting to give the tiger a more magical feel, and confirmed that Sussy has 6 eyes total, 3 on each side. Kang commented that Derpy was initially conceived as a fun character without a clear role, however they did not want him to be just a sidekick. The team was inspired by a painting by Chen of a statue of a tiger turning into a real tiger, next to an open shirt Jinu, which led to the idea of Derpy being Jinu's pet, eventually becoming a mailbox basically to help the characters communicate, and then the bird tagged along. Kang also stated that while the animals live between these two worlds, they are not demons, and it is left mysterious, which I kind of love. So that's basically the breakdown of the inspiration between these two characters. Derpy is Jinu's pet, and there's a lot of affection between the two of them. The magpie is just there. Like, he's just always perched on Derpy for whatever reason. Clearly a fan of the cat. So one of the really fun things that they've done with Derpy is that he like hyperfixates over anything that has been knocked over. So like when he walks, he accidentally knocks over a flower pot, and then he just like is constantly trying to put it back up and won't stop until Rumi puts it back up. It's so fucking cute. Anyway, I love that tiger. So where Rumi goes to meet up with Jinu and instantly tries to attack him because she ain't here for his shit. And he is like, no, bro, I just want to talk. Like, what the fuck? You're a demon hunter, but also a demon. How are you hunting yourself? How does that work? This is where Jinu kind of explains to Rumi that demons are not just inherently evil. They're enslaved by Guima, by him weaponizing their shame and their sorrow over what they did during their life. He reveals that 400 years earlier, he was like very impoverished with his family in his village, and he made a deal with Guima to make his voice beautiful. And so then with his beautiful voice, he was granted access to the palace. He tells Rumi that him and his family went to the palace, but then Guima came back to collect him because he made a deal with him. And then his family was left destitute when he was taken down to, the demon world or whatever. And so he feels a lot of shame over abandoning and leaving his family behind. This is the story he tells us. Stay tuned. It is not 100% true, but this is the story he tells Rumi. Obviously trying to paint himself as a sympathetic character to gain her trust and find out what her shame is. This is also where we first see that the demon markings are based on shame. That shame is manifested via these demon marks. So Rumi obviously keeps on trying to attack him, whatever, but this is just our first meeting with these two little enemies to lovers. Don't you worry, we'll see. And so the Idol Awards are approaching. Huntrix manically trying to write Takedown. Jinu's words have stuck in Rumi's brain, and like as we see this montage of Huntrix kind of battling the different demons and all these things, there is a moment where she says to a demon, she's like, are you like Jinu? Are you enslaved or whatever? But it's different. This is the kind of thing where it would have been a good moment for the demon to be like, what? You're asking me a question? Or something like that. But instead the demon just attacks her. It's kind of annoying. But it's okay. It's okay. There's no tea. There's no shade. I understand it. I understand it all. And Mira kind of catches the tail end of that interaction. She's already been kind of like, Rumi, you're acting a bit weird with your whole voice thing and everything. But this is kind of the moment that she sees that and she's like, what the fuck is going on? To kind of strengthen the power of their fans and also try to kind of tackle a little bit the Saja Boys debacle. They host a fan event. Bobby hosts a fan event, but then the Saja Boys crash it. And when the Saja Boys crash it, half their fans go into the line to meet the Saja Boys. So Rumi's like, no, we need all the fans. So the Saja Boys will sit with us and we'll do a joint signing, which like the fans obviously love. But this is where we get the majority of like personality with the Saja Boys, which is basically them just annoying Zoe and Mira. And we see lovely interaction between Jinu and Rumi where they're arguing about, she's basically trying to convince him, like, just be good, like be better, and you won't be able to be under the control of Guimar, but you're going to remain a demon if you let him use your guilt for bad. And he's like, you don't understand, that's not what blah blah blah. And there's a little girl who kind of brings up this little fan art that she's done of Jinu, and it says something along the lines of like, you have touched my soul, something like that. And he is obviously touched by it, but he starts to freak out over the feelings that he's having. So he's like, Saja Boys, we go bounce. And so they leave, but Rumi can see that she's kind of gotten to him and he's kind of gotten to her. So they're kind of getting to each other. We flash back to her room. Rumi's trying to like kind of change the lyrics of Takedown a little bit because she's feeling like the diss track is too extreme towards demons. And like, obviously she is half demon, so she knows not all demons are inherently bad, and she feels bad for like the lyrics are all like, we gotta kill those fucking demon bitches, you know what I mean? And so she is trying to like shift it so that it's not just literally a diss track. And we see that fucking Derpy and Sassy are hanging out in her room with her, and it's really adorable, and I fucking love it because Jinu wants to meet up with her again, but she's like, I'm not gonna meet up with him. And as she's writing, Mira comes to interrupt. She's like, feels like something's off. She feels like Rumi's hiding something from her. Rumi gaslight girl boss gatekeeps that shit, and it's like, girl, that shit's in your head. I'm completely fine. What's your problem? And I feel really bad for Mira, to be honest, because she is completely spot on with this shit. But Rumi is just fully lying to her because Celine has gaslit her into thinking that she's literally a demon and everyone's going to hate her if everybody finds out, you know? So off the back of this conversation, Rumi starts to kind of formulate a plan to work with Jinu, and she meets up with him again. They meet up on like a big wall somewhere. This is like where we first start to see their relationship turning a little bit romantic. She basically proposes to him, like, if you help us and you make sure that, you know, the Saja Boys aren't able to succeed for Guimar, then I can ensure that you are on this side of the moon when it closes. So you should be able to live your life as a human. And Jeannie's like, girl, that's not how it works. And she's like, that has to be how it works because Celine told me that my marks will go away once I close the hung moon. And he's like, okay, queen. He doesn't believe it. But she is basically trying to convince him to do the right thing and that he doesn't need to be this demon bad boy, whatever. I think I forgot to mention at the start, the deal that Jinu made with Guimar is that if he is able to succeed in helping Guimar, then Guimar will erase his memories of what he did to his family, which at this point, what we know that he did to his family was abandon them when Guimar took him back to hell. But that's a bit weird. Doesn't feel like it's the whole story, does it? No, we'll find out later what it actually is. An old lady kind of comes up to them, giving them little bracelets, and then mistakes them for a couple. Very cute, fun, quirky little moment. Jinu accepts the bracelet that Rumi's giving him, which kind of gives a sign of like, maybe he's in on the plan. Maybe he's going to help sabotage Guimar. Maybe this will all work out, you know? The Hanmoon continues to weaken. We see more and more people getting taken by demons. There's like these spooky little sections of the film that we see people are disappearing, like 3 times the amount of missing people. These people are being taken by Guimar. Like, it's all fucking pretty horrific, to be completely honest with you. And the tension between Mira and Rumi continues to grow because Mira's like, bruh, people are dying and you're more focused on rewriting Takedown when we just need to get this shit out and take the Saja Boys down. But because Rumi isn't being 100% honest with them, she's not telling Mira and Zoe why she's having these feelings, and it's all fucking frustrating communication issues, which I still blame Celine for. So I'm not even mad at Rumi at this point. Anyway, so they're rehearsing for their idol performance, big pop idol performance thingy, and then they see that a bunch of demons are attacking, and it's like the most demons ever that are attacking, like the biggest tear in the hung moon that they've seen, and it's on a train. And in her frustration, Rumi lashes out at Mira. We're starting to see really deep cracks forming with the girls because of the distrust that's breeding from Rumi not being honest with them about what's going on, but they can obviously tell that something's off. And so they attack the demons, whatever, but they're not fully successful because Ruby hesitates at one point, and like they can obviously see that something's going on, and Mira's like, bro, all these people in these trains just disappeared. You need to get your shit together, or tell us what the fuck's going on, because right now it just looks like you're on the demon's side, which is batshit crazy to them because they don't understand, you know? They don't get it. Here we have our final kind of meetup, our most romantic meetup of Ruby and Gino. It's very cute. It's very sweet. They meet up at nighttime, and we open with a very funny little thing about Sussy. So the bird wears a little black hat, and apparently Gino bought the hat for Derpy, the tiger, but the bird keeps on taking it, which I thought was a really cute little detail. They sing a ballad love song together about how Rumi's voice has been returning over the course of the film because she's been able to open up about her shame and her fears to Gino, and by being able to be open and honest and not hiding it and not being so shameful, that her markings are kind of receding and her voice has come back to her. So she's saying to Gino, look, we can be better together. Like, if you help me, we can figure this out and it's going to be okay. You just have to do the right thing. And they have this big musical moment. It's a beautiful song. I don't actually know what it's called, Free. And Gino actually starts to believe Rumi that they can be good together and he can help and everything can be okay. And then instantly he is taken down to Guimar, and Guimar's, boy, you are stupid if you think that that's true. You are a demon through and through, and I can make those voices turn all the way up, because for a brief moment when Gino was with Rumi, he couldn't hear the voices that are constantly like reminding him of what he did to his family. And so he's like, oh my God, maybe it's true. Maybe I can be good and the voices will go away. And Guimar's like, bitch, I can make those voices come back tenfold, which is like, I call bullshit, because why would the voices go away if you could do that? But whatever, you know. We'll let him. So unfortunately not looking good for Gino and Rumi, but Rumi at this point really believes that she has fully convinced Gino. So her plan is, at the Idol Awards, the Saja boys are going to be sabotaged by Gino, and she's going to be able to focus on her performance of Golden, which will strengthen the Hong Moon. They'll win, all is well, and Mira and Zoe will get it because like they're going to see what an amazing performance she has planned and everything turned out great. That's her plan. That's where she's at right now, you know? Another important thing that we find out here is Guimar, when he's like, bitch, don't forget who you are. The real story behind Gino is that when he got given this voice, he didn't take his family to the palace with him. He left them in poorness and squalor to die, basically, and he just went and lived in riches by himself. And that's the reason why he's a demon, is because he abandoned his family for a better life. No bueno. Bad Gino. So we see a really nice moment of the girls bonding. Rumi obviously is contemplating telling them that she's a demon, but once again decides not to. It's very fucking frustrating, but she does convince them to instead perform Golden so that they're not performing a diss track to try and strengthen the Hong Moon, because she thinks that that is going to weaken it because it's not born of love or whatever. And the two girls agree, and they have a really cute bonding moment over their shared insecurities and how they found each other and how Huntrix felt like a home and a family that they didn't have before they joined it, which I would love to know how they joined it, but we'll see that in a sequel. And so everything's feeling aligned. Moving into this Idol Awards performance, the girls are feeling good. Well, Rumi thinks that Gino is all on side. All should be well, right? So we flash forward to the Idol Awards. Everything is going well. The Saja boys don't show up. So yet again, Rumi thinks that Gino has done his job. So we go to the Idol Awards. The Saja boys fail to appear for their performance. It's supposed to just be Huntrix and Saja boys performing. And everything is going well. The girls start performing Golden. Rumi's voice is on key. Golden is like the world's catchiest song still. So hearing it multiple times in this film really cemented it in my frontal lobe. The Saja boys don't appear, but then halfway through the performance, when Mira and Zoe go off stage and Rumi stays on stage to do a little solo moment, they, distracted, run away and are replaced on stage by two demon imposters who start singing Take Down, the diss track. And Rumi's like, what the fuck's going on? On stage, they start tearing her clothes off, exposing her demon markings and all that, which like the fans obviously don't know what that means, but to them it looks like as though the girls are practically in a physical fist fight on stage, and thus like their idol ranking stuff starts to fall and everything is a mess. Rumi obviously runs off stage being like, what the fuck is going on? And then bumps into the real Mira and Zoe, who are like, whoa, you're a fucking demon? What the hell? And ultimately, as we all knew was going to happen, they are more upset with the fact that she lied to them than they are with the fact that she is a demon. They're like, how are we supposed to trust you if you were able to lie about who you fundamentally are as a person for the entire time that we have known you? But it's still like one of those things where Mira like gets all like rah, and it's like, oh, it's annoying. It's just annoying. I do hate personally like bad communication plot lines because they just feel frustrating for the viewer to watch. But I think in this case, it's like understandable. It's like the whole foundation of the plot. So I get it. After Rumi finishes her confrontation with the girls, she runs off trying to find Jinu to be like, what the fuck happened? What's going on? And unfortunately, we find out Jinu set her up because Guimar just got in his head and he genuinely believed it was hopeless and nothing was ever going to, you know, be able to help him escape Guimar. And to him, the only salvation, the only hope he has is to have Guimar erase his memories of what he did to his family. Otherwise, he's going to live in eternal torment. This is also when he tells Rumi what actually happened and how he abandoned his family himself, not that he was taken from Guimar. And in that moment, Rumi is like, bro, like, you made a mistake. That doesn't mean that you should be tormented for all of eternity. In the same way that I was born and thus I shouldn't be tormented for all of eternity. Like, these things are so stupid, and it's like you just feel for Rumi in this moment, man. Like, she is really fucking going through it. So at this point, like, Guimar is officially fucking winning. Like, the Honmun basically doesn't exist anymore. Like, it is completely torn apart, and we see the Saja boys hypnotize the broader population, including Mira, Zoe, and Bobby. And we can see the way that he does that is like through speaking about their insecurities in their ear. So like for Mira, it's like, you're never gonna have a family. You're the black sheep. Like, people will never love you, blah, blah, blah. For Zoe, it's like, you're too much. For Bobby, I don't really know what it said for Bobby, but Bobby's just a regular human, so he just got hypnotized with everyone. And we see that basically the entirety of the world is going towards the arena where the Saja boys are going to do one final performance of actually one of my favorite songs in the movie, which it's the favorite for a lot of people, but it's like the Saja boys' kind of penultimate performance, I would say. And it's the moment that Guimar will like take everybody's souls, feast, and take over the world, whatever kind of vibe. So whilst that's all happening and they're all being hypnotized to go to the arena, Rumi goes to visit Celine and ask her to kill her. She's like, girl, you may have had dreams of me becoming a demon hunter, and thus, like, when the whole moon is like all fucking closed, my demon markings go away. But like, queen, that didn't work. Look at me. Look at what I am right now. Look at what's happened. And like, at this point, Rumi looks more demon than ever before, because the overwhelming emotions of what's happened are having her demon markings like really overtake her body. She's got like one demonic eye. She still looks badass, but like, she is looking less and less human as we go along, you know? And Celine is like, oh my God, it's fucking crazy. Rumi's like, why didn't you just kill me when you first met me? And Celine was like, I promised to your mother that I would look after you, but I didn't realize that you were going to be like this when she asked me to do that. And it's like, what, you didn't realize she was going to be half a demon? Like, you were like, oh, if I knew you were half a demon, I would have said fuck you. And like, oh my God, I just hate her. And Rumi's like, bro, if I have been raised to hate myself, you hate me. You've never loved all parts of me. You've only ever loved the parts of me that you felt were okay. The other half of me, you feel like is a mistake, you think is disgusting, you think is an abomination to humankind, and I've been raised to feel that way. Why couldn't you just love me fully for who I am? Anyway, so Selena's like, don't worry, we can fix this. Like, I'll tell the girls that it was all an illusion, a demonic illusion. I'll tell them that it was all to get in our heads and we can still get rid of these markings, blah, blah, blah. Still saying like, we can cover this up, we can figure this out. And Rumi's like, bro, no, I am done. I am living as I am. I am here. This is who I am. If you can't accept that, if the whole moon is going to be fully fucking decapitated because I am who I am myself as I was born, then that's not the Honmun that I want to protect. That's not what I want to build. That's not what I stand for. And like throughout the films, they've always like kind of mocked Celine for having this like saying, I can't remember the exact saying, but it's something like, keep all of your feelings and emotions inside because you can't show fear or any kind of worries as a hunter. But like we see through these three girls of the Huntrix that they quite clearly have fears, have emotions, are regular people who are struggling, and such a huge part of the conflict in this is the way that Celine has taught the girls to manage their problems, and specifically the way that Celine has taught Rumi to manage her problems. So Rumi kind of leaves. Celine can't kill her because she loves her in whatever capacity that she does. Rumi leaves after like once again having a little outburst of like demonic energy, and and we kind of leave on that note of like, why would she want to protect a honmun that's based on kind of hatred, you know? Which is what the foundation of it that was built years ago by the original demon hunters. Oh, I actually wrote the quote down. If this is the Hongmun I'm meant to protect, I'm glad to see it destroyed. Snaps for me. It's an epic moment, to be fair. It's also not where I thought it was going to go. So I thought it was interesting. So we go back to watching everybody in a trance walking towards the arena where the Saja boys are performing. They start performing the absolute bop, Your Idol, and a perfect, brilliant song. It's an absolute banger, genuinely. During this performance, we see the Saja boys dressed in the same outfit that they were at the very start of the film, which is called a black hanbok and traditional horsehair hats. So they are wearing this in the same way. They're kind of evoking the image of the Joseong Saja, which is the Korean equivalent of the Grim Reaper. So at the start of the film, you see them in this outfit from the demon world, whatever. And I guess like if you're Korean / knowledgeable about these things, then you would instantly recognize it. But it's really quite an image. Like there's not a lot of humanity left to the Saja boys when they're performing at the end. It is very obvious what they are doing, and it is very obvious with Guimar behind them. Like he's in all his fiery glory sitting behind them, and they kind of are performing as demons, as Grim Reapers that are taking the souls and giving them to Guimar. Rumi interrupts the Saja boys, yet again looking very disheveled and demonic. She interrupts the Saja boys and starts singing the finale song of the film, which I believe has an appropriate amount of emotional weight. Truly does feel like a third act song, giving Wicked vibes. I mean, look, it's no Defying Gravity, but like it's giving that energy of like, here I am, bitch. And she begins singing, which kind of knocks out of their trance Mira and Zoe, who are amongst the crowd, and they start walking and kind of reuniting on the stage and having a little hug that gives them all they transition into all matching outfits and having the best time. They are having their Sailor Moon moment of like in their battle ready outfits. They haven't really said that that's a power of the hunters, but we're going to go with it. So at this point, Rumi's intention, and like Mira and Zoe obviously are along for the ride, but Rumi's intention is to break down the old Honmun and instead build a new one based off of honesty and love and transparency and friendship, and like not based on having to hide all of your emotions and all your fears and everything inside you. So they start to fight the different Saja boys, all of the demons that Guimar is bringing, and they're like more powerful than ever because they've got the power of friendship, y'all, but like also genuinely like their power is purer because it's coming from a pure place, and they genuinely are able to fairly easily dispatch of all of the demons. Rumi ends up kind of like battling Guimar, who hits her with a real hectic power beam or whatever, and she's struggling, and then Jinu places himself in front. It's a very sad ending for these two, to be honest. We didn't even get a fucking kiss. The closest we got was a hand-holding moment when they performed Free together. That was basically this film's version of them having sexual activities. But Jinu basically sacrifices himself for Rumi and for her, you know, for her message, for the Huntrix's duties and to build the new Hongmun, and he basically gives his soul to Rumi and she absorbs the rest of his soul, and he says that he was given his soul back by her, so he thanks her for that, which is very sweet. And because he gets in the way of Gwyn, then Rumi, like with the power of his soul now within hers, has yet again another Sailor Moon moment where it's like full what? And then she uses her big sword and slices Guimar in half, and it's a big moment, and she is fucking powerful as shit. I'm not gonna lie, that was almost a tear shed in this scene from me. Jinu just seemed, he was like a dickhead, but also it's like, bruh, Jesus Christ, you make one mistake. It's a pretty big mistake, like you're leaving your I wouldn't do it, but like at the end of the day, when you really think about how many demons you see in this film and the fact that all of them are just being completely like trapped and manipulated by their own guilt and grief by this giant Guimar demon, it's pretty awful, you know? It's an awful life that they lead. So the Huntrix ultimately kill all the demons, finish off the last of the Saja boys, and they create a new Honmun, which is very pretty and automatically like golden and rainbowy, and they have their big moment. Now they're in different outfits in like gold. It's really great. Everything has turned out really well for them. And we flash forward to part of the girls in the bathhouse. A running gag throughout the film has been Mira and Zoe trying to convince Rumi to go to the bathhouse, but because of her demon markings, she's never been able to go because she doesn't want to show off her arms, which are covered in demon markings. There's now she wears those demon marks loud and proud, and they're all at the bathhouse and they have a lovely bonding moment about how much they love each other, and it's all very sweet and lovely and all good things. And even though they are technically supposed to be on break, they see some fans and they get excited, and they are not going to take a break, and they're going to keep on huntrixing basically. And happy ending. There it is. That's the end. That's K-pop Demon Hunters. My genuine thoughts on this film, if you couldn't tell by everything that I've said and rambled up until this point, is that it's brilliant. I think it's so good. I think as a kid's film it holds up. I think for adults it 100% holds up. The music is catchy and brilliant and like has been breaking fucking global records for its chart success. The actual like the handling of Korean culture and the care that was put into every component of this film is the amount of care that should go into every film. And even though that's not always possible, I think it just shows that like when we're coming off a decade, or like kind of in the midst of a decade, where it really felt like shallow cash grabs were taking over Hollywood, especially when it came to the animation scene, to see such like a heartfelt, loving, like dedication to Korean culture it's fucking brilliant to see. And I think that Maggie and Chris and like everybody who worked on this film and everybody who worked on this soundtrack should be incredibly proud of themselves, and hopefully has the rest of their careers laid out for them. And I hope that Hollywood, with the success of this film and with the success of films like Sinners and all of these things, are starting to see that holding true with artistic integrity is always going to do better than trying to meddle and fuck with a film to the point that it becomes something that has completely lost its heart and soul, or was made from the beginning purely as a contractual obligation or a cash grab. Don't waste, when the world is fucking almost on the brink of everything, don't waste these millions and millions of dollars. Even the lowest budget film is going to cost like tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't waste this money on something that could be spent for actual art. This is the type of film that should have its moment in the light, be given the chance to fucking be seen by a broader audience than anybody would have thought would actually engage with it. And when everybody is on the same page and when everybody is supporting, then everyone can make money. Ultimately, even if you're an evil studio conglomerate person, these films are way more successful beginning from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, these films will make so much more money for you than, look at like a Madam Web. I know I keep on saying it, but it's just the most recent one that's been in my brain of being bad. But like, look at Madam Web, where they made no fucking money off that movie because it was horrible. Making horrible films like that, which I still believe have a lot of love and hard work put into them, but watering something down to the point where it is so soulless that nobody can see any good in it is not going to make a studio money. So you may as well invest in creatives and invest in people. And I think that if films like Madam Web had been done differently or handled differently, I think the whole world would have seen them very differently. But because of the fact that they were quite clearly and quite obviously made with certain intentions and certain motivations that completely got in the way of any artistic integrity, it just feels like it's a waste of everybody's time and money. And that is just sad because people still worked very hard on them. Anyway, that's my little spiel done. I'm hoping that all of these films, all of these like random little bits and bobs kind of are showing and slowly breaking down the studio system in Hollywood and beyond, the greater film industry in general. And hopefully they're seeing that you can make so much money off of genuine art if you just invest in it, and it's going to make you more money than a cash grab. And don't get me wrong, the Fast and Furious movies are some of my favorite films of all time. I'm not saying that these films that are art or that are this like artistic integrity thing needs to be the world's most high form intellectual whatever. I love Fast and Furious because Fast and Furious is Fast and Furious. It is what it is, you know? It's not trying to be anything else. And that for me is beautiful, and it's authentic to what it's trying to do. And Vin Diesel is talking about family, and that's where we're at, you know? But that can still be authentic and still be genuine and be a completely different film to K-pop Demon Hunters, to Sinners, to Get Out, to all of these films that don't even need to be diverse, just need to be authentic and coming from a genuine perspective that feels human. Anyway, I know I said like 5 minutes ago that my rant was over, but it continued, okay? And I'm probably gonna give this rant many more times on this channel until somebody fucking listens to me. So, a couple of like little statty things. Since launch, 80 million Netflix accounts have streamed K-pop Demon Hunters, and I'm pretty sure it's probably way more than that now because it truly has broken through the mainstream, especially the soundtrack. There are currently no confirmed reports for a sequel, but I feel like as though Sony Pictures Animation they're not stupid, like, and Maggie herself has said that there's many avenues to go down for a sequel, so I think that there's probably a high chance, but since it is an animated film, we're going to be waiting quite a while. These things take a lot of love, take a lot of effort, and I don't want them to rush because I want the sequel to be just as good as the first one was. Now, the soundtrack. I know I've alluded to this quite a lot, but in the US, the soundtrack album holds the highest debut on the Billboard 200 chart for soundtracks released in 2025 and is the first soundtrack of 2025 to reach the top 10. The album is also the highest charting animated film soundtrack album on the chart since Metro Boomin's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in 2023, which had number 7. This one, K-pop Demon Hunters, is number 7, as well as the first Netflix soundtrack to reach number 1 on the top soundtracks in 2 years. The BBC highlighted that Huntrix and the Saja Boys with Golden and Your Idol respectively topped the US Spotify chart, with Huntrix hitting number 2 on the chart, surpassing Blackpink as the highest charting female K-pop group, and the Saja Boys becoming the highest charting male K-pop group in US Spotify history, surpassing BTS. In South Korea, Golden became the third song to achieve a 2025 perfect all-kill on the charts. The power of that fucking soundtrack. If at this point in the video you still have not watched this film and I still have not convinced you to go watch it, at the very least go listen to the fucking soundtrack. It is so catchy, it is so good. The thought that went into all of the music, even just down to what they were looking for from the songs and the little like making sure the Saja Boys was more surface level, and like there was so much thought and effort put into this, and such a huge like crew of people who it's great. It's brilliant. Golden is still stuck in my head and will be forever. Your Idol is a absolute banger. There's no misses. Honestly, there's no misses on this soundtrack, so I think everybody should listen to it if you haven't heard it yet. I'm just waiting for the day that they start playing fucking K-pop Demon Hunters on the radio. I can be like to my dad, hey, so that's actually a fake animated K-pop Demon Hunter band that this song is, and he's gonna be like, what is this world coming to? Oh my god, that was a long video, guys. This is kind of, I forgot how much I enjoy doing these little deep dives, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Leave your comments, messages, anything I missed down below. I had such a good time making this video and researching it and finding out / educating myself more on Korean culture and what's kind of, you know, interwoven into this film. And it was really great. Next week, we are going to be watching Jurassic Park. I know I'm also a little bit late to this because Jurassic World has obviously just come out. Jurassic World Rebirth, the Scarlett Johansson one with the slutty little glasses, that one has just come out, and ideally I would have done a video before it came out, but honestly, I don't care. I'm just out here wanting to watch Jurassic Park again because it's one of my favorite films of all time. So we're going to be watching that next week. Please, well, yeah, we'll be watching it next week, and I'll be uploading my video towards the tail end of the week. So everybody's homework is to go watch that film, and we will reconvene here in 1 week. Please leave down below any other movies that you would like me to cover on this channel. I've got a little short list, and I am really excited to set the vibe of Obscura Club with you all, and I hope that you really enjoyed this video. But for now, if you did, please subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff really helps, and I will see you next week.